6:30, I would like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order for Thursday, March 7th, 2024, in the Wacoit Meeting Room. First order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if we could have a moment of silence for those who have lost their lives in service to our community. Thank you. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, at this moment, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of finance meeting of Thursday, February 29th, 2024 in open session.
I make that motion.
I second
We
it.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. Any opposition to approving the minutes as written? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. Nothing for appointments and hearings. The representative from the select board, do you have anything you wish to share?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. No one from the school committee. That will bring us into old business. Mr. Collins, we requested some people to come speak on some of the articles.
Yes, and I know that the finance director's here, the wastewater superintendent is here, the DPW director is here. There was one or two individuals that you did request that were not available.
Yep.
Including the DNR director, but we will have her here at another meeting, and I believe the finance director, or excuse me, the treasurer was requested, but I think the finance director can probably answer any questions that you may have of him.
All right.
So I think we've got everybody covered except for the DNR director.
Sounds good. So let's start with you, Dawn. Since the first couple of articles on hold pertain to you.
I'm not sure which articles you want to start.
Well, let's start with article number 4.
Okay. And article number 4 is the accrued benefits account.
Yes.
So currently I can give you the current balance if you'd like the current balance in the account. Currently, the balance is $66,016. This account is a carryover account that funds accrued benefits for retirees. So when an individual retires, if they are entitled to any vacation buyback, sick buyback, it comes out of this account.
Got it.
It does not come out of an operation budget. If we take it out of an operation budget, it overstates those expenses. So we try to keep those expenses coming out of this accrued benefit account. It does carry over year to year. We try to keep a certain amount in that account so that we don't deplete it completely. The HR director does monitor it. She does try to keep an eye out, or people will go to her if they are planning on retiring, and she will plan accordingly. If she does know someone is going to be retiring, She'll kind of look at what their accrued benefits will be when they are going to be retiring and try to plan to cover that amount. So these funds are for upcoming retirements that she anticipates, as well as preparing to have a balance in that account as well.
Any questions? Hearing none. Next questions were on Article 5. 5 and 6 together, basically.
So Article 5 and 6 are basically together. They, for basically the same reason. If you recall, back in October, there was a plan to have an article and a ballot question to fund the design and engineering for Phase 2 of the wastewater, clean water initiatives. We were in kind of a bind because we needed to contract with GHD, the engineers, and it needed to be done as soon as possible. We did not have the funds in hand at the time. So it was decided that we would ask for a debt exclusion, a borrowing authorization, to allow the town manager to be able to sign a contract. If we had not done that, he would not have the authorization to sign a contract because we would not have the funds to do so. We did that. At the time, the treasurer said, we are hoping we do not have to borrow. Our plan had been to hopefully utilize between free cash, wastewater stabilization funds, and wastewater infrastructure funds, the WIF. We were hoping that we would not have to borrow funds and we would be able to pay for the design and engineering outright. But at the time, we did not know what that cost would be. The estimate was $7.5 million. The town moved forward, voted a debt exclusion at the ballot as well. We went to the ballot, and it was approved. The contract came out, and instead of $7.5 million, the contract with GHD was actually $6.2 million. In addition to the debt exclusion, you also, all of us taxpayers, approved $3 million in free cash to be used. So it actually reduced what would have had to be borrowed to $4.5 million. In the end, because it was only $6.2 million, or let's say 6.3 because it's closer to 6.3, we did not need $4.5 million in additional funding. So our plan, when we sat down, we looked at what was available in both the WIF and the wastewater stabilization, and between those two balances, and there's a small amount needed from free cash, additional free cash, we feel it's appropriate to pay off the contract with GHD without borrowing any money. This saves the town approximately $450,000 in interest. And we think that's the best financial move for the town and the taxpayers of Mashpee. Currently, I can tell you what the balance in both the WIF and wastewater stabilization funds. The plan is, from the WIF, we would like to use $1.6 million. The current balance is $1,683,000. And that is through collecting the February tax payment, and we still have the May quarter tax payment that will be due. So by the time we get to the May town meeting, there will be additional funds in there. In the wastewater stabilization, which is, as you recall, we do put 75% of our short-term rental is deposited directly into that fund. We have $1,408,000. We would like to use $1,400,000. In addition to that, we'd like to utilize $500,000 in our revenue available for appropriation, which is the free cash. That will cover the entire contract.
How
for
much
the
in free
design
cash, I'm sorry?
500,000.
500,000. Thank you.
That will avoid any interest that we have to pay on that ban.
And we've done this before, when there's a article or something comes up and we get an authorization. Authorization doesn't mean you have to borrow. It means you could borrow if you need it, or you don't have funds that come up somewhere along the way. Is that right?
Correct, yes. And what will, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yep.
could, just want to add one other thing that I think is relevant to the conversation, and that is, and I know I've got a select board member here, so it may not be fair, but I think it's relevant to the conversation. At the next meeting, my intent is to go before the select board and respectfully request that an article be added to the warrant. The select board can, if they choose to, that would rescind that debt, so that there is absolutely no question in terms of what its status is. And that can be done, and that's being worked on. What I don't want to see happen, particularly since I'm going to town meeting in May, seeking the figure that you now all know, I don't want there to be any confusion that this debt is attached, or whatever the case may be. We are rescinding this debt or retiring this debt officially if I get approval from the select board to bring it before town meeting. I just wanted to throw that in.
And like I said, right from the start, when we, when this design and engineering had moved forward, we had hoped, our hope had been to not have to borrow, but the borrowing authorization was basically a safety net, so that we could move forward with contracting with GHD and move the project forward. We do borrowing authorizations. As you recall, there's one on the annual town meeting for the Chapter 90. It's a safety net many times. We rescind them all the time because you don't want them on the books. By rescinding it, you no longer have that authorization to borrow. And that's exactly what the town manager is talking about. By taking that, by rescinding that authorization, we no longer have the ability to borrow that any of that $7.5 million.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, last October, we put this $3 million into this temporary borrowing through the town meeting.
Yes,
This is actually taking the funds we currently have in these two separate funds and moving those funds into that account.
yes,
So it's like, it's basically balancing out what we've already agreed to pay.
exactly,
Got it.
yes. And paying off this contract of $6.3 million.
Yep.
It's going to pay that off. We're going to be at zero. Nothing will be due.
Yep.
Is there any, I'm just asking the question, is there any advantage not to do this, from your perspective?
From the finance team's perspective, no. It would be a disadvantage to, or disservice, in our opinion, to the taxpayers to have them pay $450,000 in interest when we have these funds in hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Dawn, do you think there's any question that the town will approve Article 5 and 6? I mean, it seems to me that there shouldn't be a problem with it because it's coming from existing funds that we have. But do you see any questions or issues that could come up before the town
I would
approving these?
hope not. I mean, I think both the treasurer and myself would be prepared. If anybody has questions at town meeting, we would be more than willing to have all our figures together. And we'll have numbers. We'll be prepared to answer questions. We are very confident. You know, the plan all along has been to utilize these funds to pay the debt for Phase 1. We're confident when the debt starts to become due in 2026, which is the estimate right now when the first payments will be due. We'll have those funds in hand to pay those debt payments. Right now, we have these funds available to pay this ban off, or it's not even a ban at this point, this contract, I should say, with GHD. So there's no, we're not jeopardizing in any way the payments towards phase one of the debt. So we're very confident in this move.
Okay, good.
Any more questions regarding Articles 5 and 6? Hearing none, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very helpful, very clarifying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, if we get somebody from the Community Preservation Committee to Articles 9 and 10.
Hi. Hi. Arden Russell, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
All right, let's, just, if you could just start by explaining Article 9 a little bit to us.
Could you tell me which article that is?
That's regarding the $550,000 from the Community Preservation Fund, 10% Open Space Recreation Reserve.
It's for the,
Asherman Road.
Yeah, restoration.
of the pond. Sure, so that was a request submitted to us from the Department of Natural Resources to do an alum treatment for Ashumet Pond to assist with the phosphorus problems in the pond. As you might know, that pond was in really bad shape this year. It was closed for many, many weeks. There has been so the pond receives an outfall, had previously received the outfall of the sewage treatment plant from the base. And so there's historic phosphorus stored in the base of that lake. And really, the only way to deal with that is to do an alum treatment to sort of keep it at the bottom of the lake. That outfall pipe has been moved. There's been many other strategies, land use strategies to limit the phosphorus that is being put into the lake, but Department of Natural Resources thinks that this is the best solution right now. Ashley did work with, I'm going to say the Joint Base Cape Cod, I don't know exactly who over there, but she has contracts in hand where they are going to be paying for 50% of the cost of the treatment.
And what's the treatment exactly do?
It binds the phosphorus to the out. Well, I am the chair of the CPC. I am not the director of the natural resources.
From your understanding, what does this
It binds the phosphorus to the alum and prevents it from being released from the bottom of the lake into the water column.
Right.
And I just want to say there was a lot of support for this application from the Friends of Ashumet Pond, which is a homeowners group around the lake. They attended the meetings, and they were all very much in favor of this.
Right.
Any additional questions regarding this article?
Yes, what is the balance of the Community Preservation Fund?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. So as you know, it needs to be, 10% needs to be set aside in each of the three categories. So each of those has a balance, and then there's an uncommitted balance. I don't want to put a false number out there. It's, I'm going to say at least $4 million.
Okay.
But that's not available, for any
That'd be
use.
great.
10% of it is set aside for each of those particular uses.
Thank you.
I remember a few years ago, a similar article came before town meeting, and residents got up and made an amendment to change that, and
Yeah.
it wasn't done at that time. Is this the same pond?
No, that was
It's not.
Santuit.
Okay.
That was Santuit Pond, which is why it was important to us that the residents of
Absolutely,
Ashumet showed up
yes.
and supported this,
Yep.
and the Friends of Ashumet
Excellent.
Pond did support it, but that was a few particular people on Santuit Pond who had concerns.
Okay, but you guys have worked together with the folks from the pond community, and
We
Seems to be
have, we have.
excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions on Article 9? And seeing none, the next article is Article number 10.
Open space purchase, open space acquisition.
Yeah, the Pickle Cove Road and.
Correct. Yeah, so that's a proposal that was submitted to us from the owners of some parcels in the Pickerel Cove area, which is the northern part of Route 130. A total of 17 acres, 9 subdivided lots. There's a ownership of multiple people, family. It's a family who purchased the land years ago, and it's been passed down through the generations, so now it's cousins, and we have been, the process for CPC and open space purchases is difficult. We needed an appraisal. An appraiser needs time to complete the appraisal, and the time is ticking, and the warrant deadline is fast approaching. So we only just received that appraisal last week, and we're still in negotiations with the owners.
Questions?
So no new number, or no number?
No,
Yet.
no, ready to be publicized number.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're hopeful that we can continue. Again, the process is difficult. Recently, we've had 2 other land acquisition proposals brought before us that when the public heard about them, they approached the owners and purchased the parcels sort of out from under us faster than we could act. So, yeah, we're concerned about negotiations and keeping these negotiations in executive session. But it would be a really valuable parcel. It's majority of it is in the boundary of the National Wildlife Refuge. It abuts Mashpee Wakeby Lake. It's 17 acres. You don't see 17-acre parcel become available too often. It is already 9 subdivided lots, so could accommodate at least 9 houses. So we're really enthusiastic about the possibility of purchasing this.
Do you think we'll use it for affordable housing?
No, open space,
Just open space?
open space.
Misunderstood you, thank you.
The owners, that was the owner's request.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. Let's see. Article number 6 in the annual town meeting warrant. This is the article on the wastewater. All right, in the new draft of the warrants, Article number 4. That we have, so. All right,
Evening. So Article number 4 is to address Phase 2 of the plan. This is a $96.1 million article. The cost was based off of the fact that we have no intentions of coming back and asking for additional funding like that was done in Phase 1, nor do we want to cut back any portion of the project. So what we presented last night to the joint meeting in its entirety is what they came with. During the estimation phase, I requested that any item that might have been listed as a maybe or there was a scale range to either say the maybes are a yes, the scale always be estimated at the high end. Because, again, I reiterated to them, we will not be asking for more money. So that is what they came back with, and now our intent is, and we've already begun, started to look at areas where we can save money, whether it be how deep we go with the pipe, can we eliminate a pump station, and that sort of thing, so that way we can always come back with a less price, hopefully, at the end.
Mr. Chairman, I was at the meeting last night, and they had a presentation, and I picked up some presentation packets. Those are on your desk there with you, and it goes over the presentation that was made by GHD last night, and pretty explains everything from beginning to end, from phase 1 to the other part of phase 1 to now this new phase 2. It breaks down some of that funding for each section. And there's a map in the back of that kind of breaks down where everything is. So you can see where they're planning this next phase and how it goes. So I thought it was an excellent presentation by GHD, and gave a good thorough job of what they were advocating for. And Jared made it very clear he didn't want to come back to ask for more money. There was also some information given about other funding sources, the Cape and Islands, I don't know the exact name of that, but the Wastewater Rescue Fund, I call it. Water Protection Fund, thank you, that's it. And it was hopeful that they would be delivering possibly 25% back to us, with some other funds coming in. I can't remember.
Another 3.3 from Clean Water.
Thank you, McKenna. Another 3.3 from Clean Water, giving us like 28% plus of a break on what we're going to be paying. And if you break that down, that goes out to about, was it 68?
68.
$68 million instead of the 96 that you see if things go the way folks are hoping they will go. So even though it's a big number, the 96, there's no doubt that's an overwhelming number. But if you start looking at the possibility of these other funds helping out, it brings that down quite a bit. And we were told last night it would help the nitrogen load in these rivers and estuaries in Papaneset Bay, by 42%, which is quite good. And there's more work to do, but it's getting there. So,
We, like I said, the intent is to come in with that high dollar. That's going to allow the finance team to sit down and actually crunch numbers for town meeting to show how that will impact the taxpayers going forward.
right, and again, as with all our bond requests, this is what we're gonna request. It doesn't mean we're gonna use it.
Correct. The intent is not to use it all.
Right, we're not gonna go right out and borrow $96 million, but we've got the capacity to go out and borrow that much if we need to.
Correct.
And I think it's,
Yeah.
if I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, I think I'll get to the mic. I think it's also important to take into consideration some of the things that the superintendent has mentioned to me, whether it be the collection route, where there could be savings. I'm not saying that there will be. I think it's fair to say that we're probably not going to wipe out that entire authorization like we
Right.
did the last time, but I think we may do better. But the important thing coming into this situation was knowing that the scope was not going to change. So this is what the cost will be in order to get it done, and we need to get it done, so.
I watched the presentation last night on television, so I wasn't here to pick up the packet. But about how many homes will be affected in Phase 2?
Approximately 1,288.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions on, regarding Article 4?
What's the total number of homes that we hope to connect up eventually?
In the entirety, that's actually really hard to say, and that's where I think a lot of people get wrapped around is this 20-year plan that we've embarked upon, which we kind of had to, the watershed plan. It's an adaptive plan. So right now, we're in the early stages. 10 years from now, we don't know what technologies are going to be available to us. We truly, I mean, we have a very good scientific guess, like that 50% or 40% removal of nitrogen. It's a moving scale, and the intent is that after this, we do a little bit of evaluation, and it could be a lot greater impact than we thought it would be. Right now, we estimate, which could then result in a reduction in our scope or a focus in another area of a different watershed. That'd be like trying to predict the cost 20 years from now. I mean, we can guess fairly accurately, but to say in total, I would not feel comfortable giving even a close estimation.
I was asked this question earlier today, and I don't have the answer to it, so I'm going to ask it because someone asked me. Do we know that the $96 million, whatever the number is going to be, right? Do we know what percentage of that or what percentage GHD gets paid for the work? Because they're not doing this for free. So someone asked me what percentage, and I didn't know that, answer that question.
It's the design phase, but I don't remember in the contract off the top of my head.
I'm not sure that I understand your question. Are you wondering how it's broken down between the collections and the facility?
No, I'm wondering how much GHD gets paid to do this work.
I can get you are you talking about for the Phase 2? Or
Yes, for Phase 2. Of this number, this $96 million, is it a set fee that GHD gets? Do they get a percentage of the contracts? Someone asked me this question. I'm just asking the question.
Well, so when you have a contract like this, so we've already done the design.
Right.
Which we've already discussed. They've already done the design. So going forward, once it goes out to bid, this 96 million is just for the construction.
Right.
They got their design fee. OPM, we're probably gonna go back out for, again, which
Got you.
currently have, Weston Sampson, but that
Right.
would have to be,
I see what
bid
you're
out, so,
saying.
yeah.
So they've already been paid some.
Yes.
Right, and it's something else coming for the construction or whatever. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Just so you're clear, GHD's been the contracted service engineer for the facility.
Gotcha.
And then environmental partners for the collection system. And then, of course, the contracts were awarded. Robert B. Hour is doing the collection system.
Right.
And then the company out of New Hampshire is doing the facility.
So there are a lot of moving parts to this.
Oh, there
Right,
are
a lot of moving
And a
parts.
lot of bills.
Right. And I'm going to ask this question, do you review those bills yourself?
They do come to us, but we also have Weston and Sampson also review
Got
them
you.
sepaple.
So a couple different eyes looking at the bills to make
time
sure
couple
things are
eyes,
looking good.
yes.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
a lot of eyes before they reach me.
And yours is the final set.
And it's not like they haven't been questioned, and they have been adjusted if there's anything
Okay, thank you.
questionable.
Any additional questions?
And nothing's getting cheaper.
No, it's never cheaper than it is today. During COVID, I remember everything jumped up 30% on average in the plant, and it was,
Right.
everybody was scrambling because, thank God we budgeted a little high that year, but yeah,
Right.
so nothing's ever said it's never cheaper than it is today.
Yeah, I encourage you folks to go back and watch that meeting because it was really helpful, how they laid it out.
Any other questions? You seeing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Let me stay for the other.
All
Are
right.
you gonna address the other thing I was asking?
Oh, I think, does he have something else on hold for him? What number did you have, Jared? Did you think?
So that was the, so I was told 22, but that was for the, or I was told 21, but I believe that was for the easement, which I
Right.
don't think is for me.
Right, it's not.
So the only other articles I had forward was enterprise fund, and there was a position
Right.
request.
I think we're,
No, we're doing. No, I believe the position we approved
yes,
to recommend.
we did.
Yeah.
I think we're good. She'll see you again.
All right. Let's see, we had the articles related to the Cape Cod Technical. The superintendent's not here tonight. I didn't think so, but just making sure. Article 14, we don't have the amount for the Chapter 90 for the roads or anything like that yet?
No.
All right. Right there. That would bring us to 21, Article 21, which is the easement. There's somebody to speak regarding that.
You're talking about the easement for the electrical?
Yeah, for Eversource.
Okay.
Is there a specific question?
I think most of us wanted just some information on it, what it was about, and
Default.
So it's an easement over, the power for the wastewater treatment facility is coming over the transfer station property. So this is an easement that is giving Eversource, obviously, the permission to install and maintain that line.
Got you.
It's a power line, but
There's existing utility poles for the transfer station. This is a line that would then connect from that existing
it's a-
pole to
it's
the,
electrical power.
correct.
yeah. Good. From my point of view, I was getting confused because a couple of meetings ago, there was another easement that was granted to them, I believe.
Yes, that was
A different location.
That was a license agreement for the same thing.
Yeah.
That was to get us started and get us in, but we had to go to town meeting to get a permit easement.
Okay.
The exact same wording.
Yep,
Yeah.
excellent.
I think that, any other questions regarding Article 21 then? Hearing none, we did have Article 23, which was the amendment to Chapter 150.
Correct.
Just briefly explain to us what this is doing again.
So this is an article that would require private property owners to contain their stormwater on their own property, just as the town is required to make sure that our water isn't going onto private property. especially with the more intensive rainstorms that we have been experiencing. All of the stormwater that ends up on town roadways and town parking lots adds costs to the town if we're required to manage it. So this would give us the resources to require private property owners, it could be commercial, it could be residential, it could be private roads, to manage their own stormwater.
I know in the discussion we had last week, we were concerned that if a resident had a driveway and there was a really bad rainstorm, and then the driveway maybe had a slant, and then the rain would run down into the road, how would they protect that? Because you would hope that there would be some drains along that road someplace, but of course they could get clogged. But how would the homeowner deal with that? I mean, what could they do to prevent it?
So I think there is going to have to be some discretion involved with enforcement. I mean, certainly there is some expectation that we are going to get stormwater from people's driveways, but our road drainage systems are not designed to take all of that stormwater. If we are going to have to improve the town's stormwater to capture and contain all of that additional runoff, then I'll be coming back to you next year for a much larger budget increase for our operating expense. Our expectation is that, if people have their roof runoff that is discharging to their paved driveway, and then eventually onto the road, that, adding a dry well to contain at least that roof runoff is not an unreasonable request. But we do have commercial properties their parking lots are discharging to town roads. We have private roadways where their stormwater is discharging to town roads, and we really don't have the teeth right now to enforce them to do anything.
Okay, thank you.
So as I read this, no person, owner of property, or person controlling property shall discharge or permit to be discharged any water onto the street, sidewalk, lane, public way over the town, that the town exercises care, custody, and control, to which the public has a right to use so as to create a public safety hazard by freezing or flooding. So it sounds like to me that this only would apply to areas that were prone to freezing and then flooding. And it doesn't say anything about, I mean, it's worded so that people, I think, I mean, you just clarified it. I said rainwater. There's no mention of rainwater in here. So how do you, I mean, it sounds like to me, if the water creates a public safety hazard by freezing or flooding, then that's where your control lies in. It doesn't indicate that every home in Mashpee has to put in a dry well, or whatever they do,
No.
possibly.
We have areas in town, and this is.
And we
is
talked
meant-
about that a little
This
bit.
is meant to be stormwater that, that we have flooding when we
Right.
have any significant rainstorm. Some of that is water that is from, the town's roadways, but some of that is from adjacent properties. So this would give us the authority to ask those abutting property owners that are contributing to that existing flooding problem on the road to do something about their own stormwater.
Right. So it is for a flooding hazard or freezing
Yes.
only. So it's raining right now. So it's raining
So
right now.
we are not expecting to go around to every single property. There's 9,000 households
Right.
in the town of Mashpee. We're not going to go around to everyone and
Inspect
say,
those.
your driveway is stormwater may
Right.
be coming out onto the town road. No, this is going to give us the resources where we have issues now or in the future, as we get more intensive rainstorms,
Right.
to require that the adjacent property owners that are contributing to the problem contribute to the solution.
Got you. So, for example, there's raining right now as we hear. Water's flowing outside. It's coming down someone's driveway, which most driveways are pitched a little bit. And that water's running down into the street. It's not causing a flooding hazard.
It's
That-
not, that is not something I would anticipate being an issue.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Right. So if I drive down some streets, anywhere in Mashpee, you're going to find a little bit of flooding that you can clean out your undercarriage. And that's where you're talking about, places like that.
Or even more significant than that,
Yes, okay, yeah, even more significant than, okay, all right. All right, thank you for clarifying all that for me, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Any additional questions? Hearing none. Let's go on the next one, which was Article 28, which is the road taking, the accepting of the layout.
Yes. So this is a petition article?
Right.
So I'm not sure, I know the petitioner has been at prior meetings.
Right, I think one of the,
He's here.
Oh, this one, is somebody here?
the first, the first thing, I do believe some of our questions were about the impact on the town of us taking this road. And on DPW's workload and things of that nature.
Sure, and as you know, there is an article in the warrant asking for additional staffing at DPW just because of the workload that has increased over the last 10 years. Any additional responsibilities, does require additional labor as well as costs for maintaining that infrastructure. So I can't give you a dollar amount, but it's cumulative. You keep adding roads or keep building new facilities, there is a cost to maintaining those facilities.
Any other questions?
Any environmental implications for this road? It's kind of close to the water.
So these roads are all located within the floodplain. So there are some, it's unclear of right now what the proposed regulation changes from DEP may have on the project. I've reached out to ask that question and have not received a response, but DEP has proposed regulation changes to their wetlands bylaw having to do with properties that are within the floodplain and resiliency. It's unclear right now whether or not those requirements would trigger anything additional if these were to become town roads.
How does the town borrow the 2.7 million?
So basically, it would be a normal borrowing authorization. We would borrow as needed, and then it would be assessed a betterment. All the properties would be assessed a betterment based on the actual amount that is the total amount of the cost of the project. And it would be the properties who are bettered, and it would be split among the properties on the road. And they would pay back over a course of 20 years if they choose to do so, or they could pay the total amount without interest up front. So they would be assessed a betterment. It would not be on the taxpayers. It would be the property owners.
And would it include maintenance of the roads over 20 years? Would the 2.7 include a maintenance portion?
No, that's the
Okay.
cost to bring the road up to town standard.
Okay.
Once they're brought up to standard, we're assuming maintenance.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, I drove down that street the other day, and the roads look pretty good. What do you need to do to bring it up to town standards? I'm just curious.
So when we look at I guess the town assuming responsibility in perpetuity, you know, we want to make sure that it's essentially a brand-new road.
Right.
So right now, there is not a lot of drainage infrastructure in the neighborhood. So significant, I think almost a third of the cost is just for drainage improvements. And then once you do that, then you're looking at resurfacing of the road. So again, it's really looking at protecting the town from any significant maintenance expenses for at least a 10-year period.
One more. Do we have any other roads in the flood zone? Town roads in the flood zone? I imagine we do, don't we?
We do.
We do, yeah.
Yes.
So if the law changes or the rules change somehow, you'd have to upgrade those roads or do what you need to do to them?
As
As
I
well?
guess the question for this particular neighborhood is the process, because it's becoming a town road and we're going in and making new improvements. Other town roads, if in the future we have to make improvements, it might be triggered. But this is the whole neighborhood potentially might have some additional requirements we need to comply with.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Any additional questions for our director or the lead petitioner regarding this article? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That's everything we had questions on at this point. So I would like to thank everybody that was here to provide information. At this point, what I would like to do is go through the articles we have on hold. If anybody is prepared to take action regarding these articles we have on hold, I'll take a motion to remove the hold.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. if I
Yeah.
may. And we may do this under new business, but there was a CIP change today.
Yes, well,
I don't know if you want to address that.
No, that's fine for now.
is that okay?
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I believe the total was 265?
Additional.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
was gonna go to my notes.
256.
All right, 256. 256,000 was added to the capital improvement program today through a unanimous vote of the committee. And essentially, what the issue was is the film that is being applied to the three schools also requires what I refer to as a radio enhancement or repeater. It's been referred to as other things as well, but it's to enhance communication for our public safety officials, whether it be fire or police. Fire is the one that brought this to our attention. And in fairness to the school, I think we did have some issues anyway. So therefore, we're trying to address all of this at once so that the film can be applied and that the communication is not going to be disrupted. We certainly, and I think one of your members will attest to this, there's no question that nobody on that committee wanted to risk at all the public safety communication in a time of need, particularly in a time of emergency. So that amount that I just gave you is a direct result of money being recommended from capital stabilization, which would require a 2/3 vote, more than what we wanted to take out. There's no question about that. But it is money that again, I think your member would agree, I know the way he voted, we had no choice but to do this, and then it gets underway immediately. The school has a plan to pay for the film. I'd let them speak on that. Out of two schools, 2 out of the 3 schools, CIP will cover the Coombs School and the radio enhancement. Do I have that correct?
And if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Town Manager, if you look at your packet, you see under CIP, you'll see school window films / radio repeaters. So this was put on hold so they could do some testing over
Right.
at the school. And, there's some difficult spots in the building anyway that need to be addressed without the film. So with the film, it definitely needs to be addressed. And so there's $100,000 that was already set aside for that. The 256 will cover the repeaters, and I think it was $45,000 for the film on the window for
At the
that one
Coombs.
school.
Yes.
Right. And so, and I think Mr. Collins would agree with me, it's really a public safety issue, making sure that communication can be well fed throughout that building and all buildings that we have.
And the reason why you're just getting this now, Mr. Chair, if I may, is the committee's been waiting for this in order to bring it to you.
Right.
And your members. So we just got the study results in, and as a result of the data that was provided, we felt compelled to act, and that's why this is going to be coming before you. So the CIP number that you have will be adjusted accordingly for the reasons articulated, but that's it. That's the only change that was made, and we don't anticipate making any other changes.
Okay.
And we wouldn't have made this change except for the circumstances.
Yeah, that's the question I had, was that money going on top of the number that's in here.
Yep.
All right. Any additional questions regarding the CIP amount then? Seeing none, thank you very much for that information.
Yes, and thank you. So are you good, or?
Well, I just was noticing the new budget figures you gave
Yes.
dropped a little bit, by about 78,000.
Yes, yes.
That's always a good way to end the conversation, isn't it?
That's a plus.
No,
You
no,
might,
no,
you might
we-
want to
we've
have pointed
got-
that out to us.
We've got an explanation.
The retirement
I'd
expense
like
finally?
to end on a good note, yes. Yes, so we did get our final retirement figure, and because we pay on July 1st, we do get a discount, and that discount is roughly $78,000. So we did remove that from the budget, and that's saving us $78,000. So that's where that savings is.
We'll take it.
Yes,
you.
yes,
That's
that's
nice.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
nice.
Thank you.
All right,
I think we're good with it, those folks?
yeah, I think so.
We're good?
You good?
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Feel free to forward those questions. And also, I'll make sure that the DNR director's at your next one.
Yep.
Okay?
All
Do we,
right,
do we
appreciate
need the, I mean, do we need the DNR director at our next one?
it.
I think the question was answered if it's about the pond and the alkalide and the,
Okay.
is that it?
Just let me know.
We'll let you know.
No, I think there was one other article that had to do, and I'll confirm, but I think there was one other article that was refunding or continuing of the Santuit Pond projects.
Okay. Like I said, we'll have any department head and myself here at the next meeting if you have any follow-up
Yep.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, so, back to the articles on hold. We'll go through each article. If people are ready to take action on the article, I'll entertain a motion to remove the hold on that article. nothing can be done until we do that.
Okay.
All right, so the first one was in the special warrant, Article number 4, which is the $370,000 for the Human Resources Accrued Benefit Account.
I make a motion to remove the whole.
I second that.
Any discussion on removing the hold on Article number 4? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold on Article number 4? Hearing none, the hold is removed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 4.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend Article number 4.
I second that.
We've got a motion and a second to recommend Article number 4. Any discussion on Article number 4? Hearing none, we'll take a vote to recommend Article number 4. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Darlene? Lee?
Yes, yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. Article number 5, the $1.4 million from the wastewater stabilization fund.
I make a motion to remove the hold on Article number 5.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion on removing the hold? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold? Hearing none. Passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 5.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to remove the hold from Article, recommend Article 5, sorry.
And I'll second, whatever.
I beat you.
Yes, you did.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to recommend Article number 5. Any discussion on Article number 5?
I thought it was well explained tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, the chair will now vote on recommending Article number 5.
I make a motion, we accept or recommend.
We've already got the motion, we're taking a vote on it.
Yes,
Greg?
Yes.
Too fast.
Glenn?
sorry.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Richard?
yes,
Darlene?
yes, yes.
Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
This show on the road.
All right.
Where are we?
Article number 6. Chair will
I
entertain.
make a motion to remove the hold on Article number 6.
I second that.
All right. Any discussion on removing the hold from Article number 6? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold on Article number 6? Hearing none. Passed by unanimous consent. The chair will entertain a motion regarding Article number 6.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion and a second to recommend Article number 6. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard? Darlene? Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, now brings us down to Article number 9 in the special. That's the transfer of the $550,000 for the community preservation for the Ashland Pond project.
I make a motion, we take the hold off.
All right,
Second.
all right. We've got a motion and a second to remove the hold on Article number 9. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold on Article number 9? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 9.
I make a motion to approve Article 9.
Second.
Get a motion and a second to recommend Article number 9. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on the motion to recommend Article number 9. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Darlene? Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, actually, it's that there. Right All right. Article number 10 on the special warrant. Chair will entertain a motion to remove the hold.
I make a motion to remove the hold.
Article 10?
Yes, Article 10.
Do we get an amount in there?
Well,
They don't yet.
we've got a motion to remove the hold first. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second the motion
All
for
right.
discussion.
Yeah,
Do we have-
Discussion,
Do we have an amount?
not yet.
I don't think so.
I think we should probably leave it on hold, because we don't have an amount, she didn't have that number.
Right.
We couldn't talk about it until we
Exactly.
removed the hold.
Very true.
Yes. So are you making the whole, the recommendation
I
to
make a
put the hold?
recommendation to hold.
Well, yeah, we got the hold removed.
And we-
Well, we're,
Oh, no, we
no,
got to vote,
no.
not- yes,
We got to, we'll vote to remove the hold, so the discussion is about that, and we've got the question about. So, is there any opposition to removing the hold?
To talk about it?
Yeah.
Or to-
No,
or to-
no, no, we're taking a vote to remove the hold.
I don't want to remove the hold.
You don't want to.
There you go, that's what I want opposition to removing the hold.
Have opposition.
All right, so then we'll take a vote whether to remove a hold.
Okay.
So, Greg?
No.
Glenn?
No.
No.
Richard? Darlene? All right, 6-0, not to remove the hold. All right, I will stay on hold for the moment. All right, that brings us into the annual town meeting warrant. Article number 2, which is the omnibus budget. Chair will entertain a motion whether or not to remove the hold on that.
I make a motion.
Okay, we got-
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding removing the hold on Article number 2? Hearing none. Is there any opposition to removing the hold on Article number 2? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 2.
I move that we recommend Article number 2.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding Article number 2?
So we've been through it quite thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had all kinds of people here looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
School is even back tonight in case we have more questions about their budget. I mean, I think the town managers did an excellent job. I think the town finance team has done an excellent job, and I don't think there's much more to be said.
And the fact that it's now $78,000 less is even
Yeah.
better.
$78,000 less, exactly.
No question about that.
Yes.
I like that down number.
All right. Which means the only update I have to do to the spreadsheet is just for our charts
Right.
in the report.
Right.
All right. Any further discussion regarding recommending Article number 2? Hearing none, we will take a vote. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Darlene? Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Article number 3, the CIP budget.
Remove the hold.
Second.
We get a motion and a second to remove the hold. Any discussion on removing the hold? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding this Article number 3.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Article 3 with the adjustment of adding $256,000 to school windows film / radio repeaters. That number will change, according to Mr. Town Manager and the CIP committee, by adding another 256 to 356 and changing the bottom line as well. With those changes, I recommend we approve.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Any discussion regarding recommended the adjusted CIP budget?
No.
I thought it was really interesting that the fire department came in, tested the school to see what was really needed and with those repeaters, and they're definitely needed, so.
All right.
Just for information, those radios don't go up to the cell, they're direct shot radios. And that's why they need the repeaters inside. The building's got a lot of metal structure in there, and it absorbs the sound and the energy.
All right, any further discussion regarding Article number 3? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote to recommend the CIP, Article number 3, with the adjustment to the final amount. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Darlene? Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. That brings us to Article 4, which is the wastewater, not the one that's listed as 4 on the spreadsheet. Article number 4 is the 96 million. The chair will entertain a motion to remove the hold.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion regarding removing the hold? Any opposition to removing the hold on Article number 4? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 4 for the wastewater.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend Article 4 for the wastewater.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
We
second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding Article number 4?
What did you think of his presentation and what you heard tonight? Anybody?
Well, I listened last night. I mean, I watched on TV, so I saw the whole meeting. And that meeting explained everything to me in terms of the financing and how we could save and things like that. So what he said was just adding to that. And I'm very impressed with how knowledgeable he is about the project.
You just said the numbers are scary.
Yeah, they are.
They are, but.
You know, the numbers are scary, but if you look at it, you know, they approved this to go forward with this design, 88 million back in July.
100 years ago, it
Well,
feels
back in
like.
July, they approved 88, they thought it was gonna be estimated at 88 million. And now it's 8 months later, and it's increased 8 million. So if we put it off and continue to wait, it's just going to increase that, and you're just deeper into a hole. I mean, I think no one relishes the thought of doing this, but I think the bottom line is, in order to save our waters and our bays, we have to do something, and a reduction of 42% of the nitrates is nothing to sneeze at.
No, that's for sure.
Right?
Yes.
And I like the fact that it looks like you're going to be getting some money back from these other funds, which could greatly impact the project. So I think it's time.
No, at least we've got supposedly the final numbers. This is the the most amount it's gonna cost at this point.
Right, on phase 2.
Right.
Right.
You know, so, as opposed to, well, we're only gonna ask for half of it now. We'll come back in it, next year, and we'll ask for the other half or something.
Well, I think it's fair to the taxpayer to give them the full number.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
you know,
Then-
you're not playing a game. You're trying to be as transparent as possible with what's being asked for, and you know, and you can make your decision based on the information that's given. The packet that was given out, like I said, was excellent.
And thank you for bringing that
And
to us.
this is the presentation that GHD gave. So I think from a town perspective, from a citizen's perspective, I don't know if there's any other options.
No?
No,
Correct.
and I think you're right. I think, you know, this is the number that they know right now. And yes, we all know, like everything else, no matter where you go and what you buy, it goes up eventually. But these are honest numbers that we've been given that they know right now.
And it doesn't mean it's gonna cost that much either, because this is just
An
what we're
authorization.
authorizing at this point, and based on how well the project's managed
Right.
and choices made down the road. There could be lowering of the final amount, but
I did like that they're looking at other options, or continuing to look at other ways to save the town money, because they realize the burden it puts on the town. But
Right.
at the end, the town will reap the rewards of that burden.
Well, that's being,
This is gonna be borrowed money.
but that's being, fiscally responsible.
Yes.
So,
This is borrowed money though, right? This is money,
well, this is the authorization to
Borrow.
possibly borrow that much money.
yeah.
And that's, I don't want to speak out of turn, I want to say I think it's a 0% interest. That's, or something like that, I can't remember.
Yes, I believe
Yes.
that, that's what, with all the stuff we,
Right.
Back in the state.
Correct,
with
correct.
all the stuff we approved previously, it
It was
allowed us to
0%
get
interest rate,
that.
absolutely,
So,
yep.
Yeah.
So it's money borrowed, but there's no interest on the money.
That they can, and it also allows them to find other additional revenue sources, grants and stuff
Correct.
as we go.
And they're out there.
Yeah.
And I like also that Jared's talking about the future. Technology and changes all the time. And who knows what, someone's working on this problem right now. Some scientist is sitting in a lab working on these issues. So lots can change.
All right. Any further discussion on recommending Article number 4?
Move approval.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
yes.
Darlene? Lee?
A definite yes.
And I'll be yes. All right, that would go back to, the next article we had on hold is Article number 5 now, which is the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School budget. Formerly Article number 4. The Chair will entertain a motion to remove the hold.
Motion to remove the hold?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second, and discussion on removing the hold.
I would like to hear from the.
Article
Cape-
5, isn't it?
Yes, Article 5 now.
I would
It's
like to hear
5 now,
from
yes.
the Cape Cod Regional Technical School District Superintendent that we thought we might hear tonight. Do you think we'll hear from him?
How about their superintendent and/or their representative?
Right.
Okay,
right,
yeah.
Sure, yeah. So,
That would be nice,
Well, they've been asked,
right?
so
Do
it's
we
just
want
a
to wait
matter
another
of.
week?
Yeah. Any further discussion on removing the hold? Hearing none, is there any opposition to removing the hold?
Yes.
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 We'll take a voice vote on removing the hold. Greg,
Yes. To remove the hold.
you want to remove the hold? I thought you were just
I'm sorry.
opposed
We're
to it.
not going to.
No, excuse me.
No, please.
Glenn,
No.
No.
Darlene, Lee,
No.
So
and
it's
I'm a
still-
no.
So it's still on hold.
Yes.
Don't hold.
That's good. Brings us to Article number 14. Transfer funds for the Chapter 90 of the road. We still don't have an amount on that. Is there a motion to remove the hold?
Wouldn't we prefer to wait for the dollar amount?
Yeah. What's
So I
the,
would say no.
Let's do that. No, we'll leave that on hold. Brings us to Article number 21, which is to grant the easement to Eversource. The chair will entertain a motion to remove the hold.
Motion to remove the hold?
second,
All right, we motion and second. Any discussion regarding removing the hold? Hearing none. Any opposition to removing the hold on Article 21? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article number 21.
I recommend that we approve Article 21.
I second that.
All right, we've got a motion to recommend Article number 21. Any discussion? And hearing none, we'll take a vote. Greg?
Yes.
yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Darlene?
Yes.
Lee? And I'm a yes. All right, and next article, Article number 23, the amendment to Chapter 150, The chair will entertain a motion to remove the hold.
I'll remove the whole. I'll second.
All right, motion and second to remove the hold on Article 23. Any discussion?
I don't know. I mean, I did hear what the director of the DPW said. It sounded like the town, if we approve this, the town would focus more on those areas that tend to flood or freeze than everybody's driveway.
Right.
So I guess for that reason, I would probably not be opposed to removing the hold.
No, I have the same squishy feeling.
Is there any opposition to removing the hold on Article 23? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. Chair will entertain a motion regarding Article 23.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second the
All right, we
motion.
got a motion and a second to recommend Article number 23. Discussion regarding Article 23.
I thought the clarification was important to make,
Mm-hmm.
because if you read it, like I said, it doesn't talk a lot about water
Yeah.
and rain.
That was my,
But the fact that it does say, if it creates a public safety hazard by freezing or flooding, and then I followed up with that question, I think it's pretty clear, they're not gonna be out being the
Yeah.
driveway inspecting police.
Yeah.
They're looking at places that are problematic.
Right.
Right, so I'm much more comfortable than I was with it.
Any further discussion regarding Article 23? Hearing none, we'll take a vote to recommend Article 23. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Richard?
yes.
Darlene?
Yes,
Lee?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
I don't trust them.
All right, this brings us to the last article on hold, Article 28. The chair will entertain a motion regarding, to remove the hold. This is the road taking.
Motion to remove the hold.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion regarding removing the hold on Article 28? Hearing none. Is there any opposition to removing the hold on Article 28? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding Article 28.
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation to make no recommendation.
All right, we've got a motion to make no recommendation regarding Article 28. Is there a second?
I'll second it, just so we have a discussion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to make no recommendation on Article 28.
May I ask why you're making no recommendation?
Well, I think it's a petition article particularly, and looking at a petition article, it's asking the townspeople to make that decision. So, we may have an opinion about it as a town person, but I think that we can let the town decide if they want this road taken or not, without making a recommendation, one way or the other. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I'll add my comment, which is, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I'm just surprised that we did have some people that opposed it come and talk, but they didn't come back in tonight. I'm just surprised at that. But,
It's not a money article, is it? There's no money on this.
no, I don't, no.
Well, there is money involved.
Oh, yeah, it's money.
Yes, but I mean,
This
it's.
is 2.7 million, but it's recouped through betterments.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
That's all. I just
I get it.
I just find that interesting.
I wouldn't expect the town to do that on my street, so.
They-
So I can't vote for it.
I just am uneasy making no recommendation.
That's okay.
You know, it's in our charter to make a recommendation on an article. This does have an impact on the town.
Do I?
going forward. And unfortunately, we don't know what that impact is gonna be.
Well, I think, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, do I understand correctly that, I'm just trying to
Yes,
relay it.
yes.
It was a group or section of people that wanted to have this done,
Majority.
the majority.
60%.
And then you have, okay, I just wanted,
Yeah.
so the town didn't approach them, they
No.
approached the town.
They approach the town.
Yes, yeah.
That's what how most of these road takings
That's what I
work.
thought.
A group of people on that town approach the town.
And we were told it was 60% that
Yep.
approved
Yes.
it or wanted it to
Yeah,
be done.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion.
All right, motion is withdrawn.
Oh, you have to
You
say,
agree?
oh, you said.
Second.
Do you agree? Not
Richie,
agree?
you have to agree to his,
Oh, sorry, Richie. you have to-
All right, the chair will
Once in a
entertain,
while.
the chair will entertain a subsequent motion regarding Article 28.
I recommend that we approve Article 28.
and I'll second that. Get it out
All
of my
right,
mouth.
we've got a motion and a second to recommend Article number 28. Any further discussion?
My concern was the issue about the floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing to have regular maintenance, but this is a totally different unknown fiscally. What's going to recommend, because they know it's in the floodplain, they know there's rules coming that's changing apparently, but we don't know what those rules are, and we don't know what the financial impact would be. So,
We don't know what the financial impact is gonna be on existing town roads in that floodplain.
yeah, but this is, well, no, but she said it would have to be, it was specific to this neighborhood. I asked her that question. She said there could be some other issues, but this, because it's a new road, has to be addressed.
So you're concerned about what the cost will be to the
Yes,
town
yes.
as we go forward if
Yes.
something goes on with it?
Yes, that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Just my opinion.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Greg?
No.
Glenn?
No.
Richard?
No.
Darlene?
No?
Lee?
Yes,
And I'm a yes. So it does not pass. So the chair will now entertain another motion regarding Article number 28.
Make a motion to not recommend.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
So why do you think it should be taken, Lee? You voted yes, so can I just ask?
so,
Why-
I'm sorry, what was
Oh,
your
that's
question?
why you voted yes for the town to take the road.
Yes, I voted for the town to take the road.
What was your thinking on that?
My thinking is they'll probably improve the road, and I see no reason not to have the town take it and maintain it. I see no reason. I mean, I know you gave a reason
Yeah.
that regulations can change, and therefore it could cost more to maintain, but, you know, anything can change, and anything can cost more.
I
So
appreciate
I
that.
don't know, I feel like the people who presented, the petitioners, several of them, think they made a really good case, and it's what the residents, the majority of the residents want for their streets.
You drove down there. You
Mhm.
drove. What does it look like? I mean, are the roads,
The roads were in
In
good
good shape?
condition, I thought. Now, I'm not an expert, but I wasn't shaking back, there's no I didn't see any potholes in the road.
okay, so,
It was pretty, it's kind of narrow, yeah. I
Okay.
could see where there could be some water issues, but I didn't see it in disrepair. So I think that's a good thing, but I don't know. I am concerned about the ongoing maintenance and the unknown cost regarding what it may happen in the floodplain.
yeah, but we have an awful lot of, we have the whole Cape, well, at least,
Yes.
the whole town
Yes.
is in a flood zone.
Yes, I know.
I want to rescind my vote.
Well, you're gonna get a chance to vote all over.
You can do
Okay.
that.
So
You could.
the thing I heard was the improvement of drainage and things like that
Right.
by going forward with this.
And we're in the process of talking about improving
No, that's
drainage,
true.
drainage and everything, runoff. That's why I was in favor of it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll now take a vote not to recommend Article 28. Greg?
No.
So,
No.
so a no vote is
I know.
against the motion, okay. Glenn?
Yes.
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Darlene?
No.
Lee?
Which-
No is to vote down the record.
No,
Okay.
I'm voting that down.
All right, again, 2 to 4, not to recommend, the motion fails.
What was your vote?
No.
I make a motion not to I make a motion to make no recommendation.
That's being wishy-washy.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I think we're having a good discussion. And we're bringing things up that as we get through it, we think it through, and it's not an easy choice to make,
It's,
I don't think.
it can go either way.
It could go either way.
So, and regardless of what we recommend, the town voters are going to have to vote on it.
Right.
It's just,
Should we make
what
a-
sort of advice do we want to give?
Yeah.
So, at the moment, we've got a motion. Is there a second not to recommend, to make no recommendation?
That's, I think, is the best idea.
So, is that a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, we now have a motion to make no recommendation on Article 28. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
Can you
To
say-
make no recommendation.
No.
Richard?
Yes.
No.
Lee? And I'm a no. 2 to 4 to make no recommendation.
So it remains on hold then.
Well, not yet.
No, we
Yeah,
can go
we
back and
haven't-
vote
It
again.
depends.
We haven't
We're
finished
going to
voting.
vote again.
All right.
This could take the evening.
So do we have another?
Is there another motion?
Yes, I have a motion to recommend approval of this article.
And I will second that.
Okay. Discussion regarding recommending Article 28.
Darlene, why did you change your mind earlier? I'm just curious.
Now, or the,
A few minutes ago, you rescinded your vote, so I'm just curious.
I had, what, I rescinded the no vote?
Yes.
Because it looks like the residents, the X percentage want it. I see no downside, and I'm not really concerned about the water. I mean, the whole Cape is water.
Right.
We are all water. So that's why. And it's going to town, so let
Right.
the town do it.
Thank you.
And we are, right now, we can have some discussion, right? Because we.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just feel like if there are regulations regarding floodplain zones and areas, and it makes it tougher that we have to do this and that and this and that, and that costs more, but it's still for the good, I think, of the town, to follow whatever those new regulations are in the floodplain, based on how bad our water has been
Right.
for the past 30 years.
Right. Well, I think any group that had a road in the floodplain may have to, either public or private, would have to follow regulations.
If private, maybe not. We don't know that. though.
No.
You know, we don't.
Private
know.
roads don't have to follow regulations?
I would think, I don't know, I'm not, that's.
I don't know either.
But I
That's a good
can't,
question.
but I,
Not, I would assume not if they've been imposed after the road was created.
That's true. Interesting. The drainage thing, that does bother me. Because if there's not adequate draining, because it is close to the marshlands. Because that is something. So if you drive down that road, you can see the marshlands right in there.
But as it was stated tonight, because of the existing or non-existing, if you will, sort of drains,
yes.
you're going to have to do an improvement when they take it over.
Yeah.
To
To bring it up
increase-
to snuff.
Yeah. So that should, offset and help the environment that way.
And Glenn, why don't you want to take it? Just curious.
It's just an additional cost for the town in the future.
Once you take it over, you own it.
You own it forever.
That's right.
And we did hear from a particular resident that discussed the financials of some of the residents in the area. I thought that makes a good case too, I think. To not do it. This is not an easy one.
No. I like the chairman's idea, no recommendation.
It's not my idea.
Jeff, it was all your idea.
No.
Blame it on
No.
Jeff.
I think we're ready for a vote, aren't we, on recommending?
Any further discussion on Article 28? Hearing none, the current motion is to recommend Article number 28. Greg?
Yes.
Glenn?
No.
Richard?
No.
Yes.
Darlene? Lee?
Yes.
I'm a yes. 4-2 to recommend.
Good
Passes.
conversation, guys.
That's all the articles. That takes us out of old business.
So that means it's off of hold then.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
thank you for your patience.
Oh, you're still here?
I was told you served dinner.
I might have a candy
Moving
bar in
it-
my
moving-
bag.
Moving into new business.
I thought he was just joining us because he liked us.
Well, that too.
Would you just state your name and your role?
Hi, everyone. My name's John Miller, Shellback Way. I'm here tonight representing, as its chair, the Charter Review Committee. And I just might, to your chair's point made a few minutes ago, quoting from the charter. Let's see if I have that here. Not the reason I'm here tonight. Among other things, the Finance Committee shall prepare a written report setting out its findings, conclusions, and its recommendations, including the reasons therefore. So I would concur that I don't think it's a appropriate position to have no recommendation, with all due respect to Mr. McKelvey. Anyway.
We have done that many times before, by the way.
I know, I remember.
You were part of this committee at one point, sir.
So the Charter Review Committee, of which 3 of its members are sitting here tonight, it would have been 4, except the town manager left, are dealing with a wide assortment of issues, but one that is on the docket has to do with how the Blue Books, which, as you know, is a combination of the recommendations of the Finance Committee as well as the means of distributing the warrant to town meeting voters, both of which are required by the charter. There's a survey that will be made public soon, and one of the questions on that survey and one of the topics that the committee is considering is whether or not those Blue Books in the future should continue to be mailed to all households. There's 1 copy mailed to each voter household, or made available electronically, or a combination of those two. Comments that were made by members of the committee ranged from when you go to the post office on the day that people pick up their mails, the waste cans are filled with blue books. But on the other hand, the comment is made correctly that people come to town meetings with the blue book in hand because many times that's probably the only time they've even seen or paid much attention to the business at hand. And if they don't have that tool available to them so that they can see it and hold it, that might be a disadvantage to how well informed they are. Another consideration is the cost, and the town finance director just tonight handed me some figures that I requested. So between the cost of printing and the cost of mailing of the two blue books from the last two town meetings, the total is just under $22,000. About 3/4 of which is for printing and the rest is for postage. So the committee has not yet taken a position on this. We haven't really gotten to the point where we're going to have an in-depth discussion on this possible change, but the question that's on the survey says, currently all voter households in town are mailed the blue book containing the town warrant, articles, and explanations and recommendations. Select one of the following. Town should continue to do this. It should be made available electronically, or it should be a combination of the two. So I thought as chair, it would be prudent to touch base with you folks on the Finance Committee, since it is in fact your report that we're talking about here. And if you had some feedback for me, I'd happy to carry it to the committee when we do get to the point of considering it further.
Thank you. Questions,
I think
comments?
they ought to be still mailed out, so there you go.
I have a question. If we did it part digitally and part in print, how would we determine who gets what, which version?
Well, you're not the first one to ask that question. It's a good one. So some of the things that were sort of thrown out without really understanding the technology behind it is sending out a postcard to all the voters at a lower cost than the blue book itself. The postcard might contain a QR code that people could scan, and by executing that QR code preference, that would trigger a hard copy being mailed to them. I'm sure that card would also promote the fact that it's available online. So, there'd be links on the town website. There might even be a dedicated email that's pushed out to all households that have email addresses saying that it's available. And then if it came to a more limited quantity of hard copies to be printed, they could be available in the usual places, which would be town hall, the library, senior center, things of that sort. But it's anybody's guess, if we print roughly 7,000 or 8,000, actually I can tell you, 7,000 or 8,000 copies now, what that reduced number would be reduced to is an unknown, because we don't know what the demand for hard copies would be if you can get it electronically. In other words, Lee, I don't think there's really a clear answer to your question yet.
I think the idea of sending them out as electronically is probably not such a hot idea, because most people are not going to want to print that out. You got about 20 pages or more. Most people just, when you get, at least when I get something that requires 20 or 30 pages to print out, it's a lot of ink. I don't want to spend it. I just reject it.
So just so I can report back to the committee, what do you think the consequence would be of people being reluctant to print their own copy?
The cost of printing it.
No, the consequence to the voter.
Oh, the voter, well, he just doesn't know.
They what?
They would not know. They'd have to either go to the library, like you said, town hall, or senior center and get a copy.
Okay. But I'm drilling down a little bit, just if I may, out of curiosity on, would that hinder their ability to act at town meeting?
Sure.
Because
They have nothing in front of them. They just see it up on the screen
Okay.
for the first time. There's no chance to review anything.
Okay. I'm not taking a position pro or con, I'm just trying to get your input.
I've talked to some people in town who get the Blue Book, and I've asked them if they read it. And some people have said, I just don't have time, but I do go to town meeting, and I've got it in front of me so that as the articles are coming up, I can read it quickly, and then I know what they're talking about. But
So they bring it with them.
yes, but that's just anecdotal, you know.
So if one compromise to printing it and mailing it to everyone is having 1,000 hard copies available when you check in to vote at the town meeting, does that satisfy your concern, particularly if you don't feel that people read it in advance anyway, and perhaps yours too, Richard?
Yeah, and it's not a concern of mine, but I've just heard that from people who say, I don't have time to read it, but I do come to town meeting, and I then look at my book, you know, as we're, so, but that's just, you know, 5 or 6 people I've talked to, so I don't know.
I have an odd question for you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but having been the moderator for the last couple of meetings, have you happened to note, not that that would have been your priority, but looking out at them, have you noticed how many, or whether they do have the books?
I
I don't mean to put you on the spot, it just
You're
crossed my
not, and
mind.
I've asked myself that question as a result of this coming up, and I have not noticed, nor made a point to it. Now I will.
No, and I, as I'm sitting here saying this, we all sit up there, and I can't say that I've noticed,
Yeah.
although I carry mine with me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know whether,
I would say I probably noticed about half the audience with them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I like the Blue Book. I like getting in the mail, I like going through it, always did. I could see the advantage to a digital copy as well, and I think there might, I don't know if it's time to go completely digital, or still, I think it should still be mailed out, and I think there should be, start focusing onto a digital copy, and maybe over the years, we transition to that at some point.
And I think that's probably a fair point, because I think, I'll be the first to admit, I want paper. I have to have it in my hand.
Yeah.
I don't like the computer. I don't like being told I have to figure out what's, you know, I hate it. I would put it under, my phone I'd put under the car wheel and never see it again. So, and I know I'm aging myself, but my point is, and your point taken, you know, as some of the older folks are aging away and moving away or dying, you'll get people that are much more comfortable with the computer, the phone, everything, so that eventually, I think, maybe it won't be necessary to print them, but I think right now it is.
I would think it'd be a good time to start, if we haven't already, putting the copy of the report on the town's website.
Well, we talked
With a
about.
link.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
But at least
you
making
know
people aware
where to
that
look.
it's there
Yeah.
more.
The postcard is probably the best idea.
You know, I would think by now the electronic version should be available. I think it probably, people need to be made more aware that it's available that way. And if we could track the number of people that go there and look, they'd give us some data to say, you know, maybe only about 10% of the population is checking it out.
Yeah.
I still like the idea of a QR code, that along with the website, that there be these QR codes placed at different places, so that people that do have a phone and want to use that and take advantage of that, they can just do it, so.
Well, wherever the QR code is promoted would also be a good place to promote the fact that you can go to the website and download it or
Correct.
look at it or both.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, the current charter says, one copy of the warrant and the Finance Committee report shall be delivered or mailed or sent by electronic email not later than the 7th day prior to the date on which the opening session of the annual meeting is to be held. So the charter already enables both mechanisms. It's just the town has never opted to do much with the electronic version. So when the committee gets to the discussion on this, I don't think it'll be whether to amend the charter to preclude having a printed copy for the reasons that the consensus seems to be here, but maybe a compromise to move in that direction and make people more aware of the option particularly if we could cut $22,000 in half or something like that.
And to your point,
might do it.
and also, that it gives, this charter printed in that form, gives you, the town, another 10 years to wean out people like me who want it, because, as I say, I think as people get more, obviously, the younger folks are so comfortable with electronic that it doesn't matter, but you'll see that it will.
Right, which doesn't mean they'd read it,
No.
A lot of people would probably, might access it to look at the article or two or three that's of particular interest to them rather than everything else. Okay, I'll filter that back, and if you have further thoughts on it, feel free to send me an email. And we also had a discussion at the last meeting a little bit with respect to the feedback that we got from the survey, but on certain questions, even if 90% of the people say yes or no to a question that we're asking, that would probably influence how we would respond to that, but it doesn't necessarily dictate how we would respond. So we'll if there are discrepancies, I guess it'll ultimately come to town meeting. As long as I'm here, let me just mention in passing, too, in case you have feedback on this. One of the questions that we're asking, one of the more heavyweight topics under discussion is whether the town clerk position should be elected or appointed. It's elected now, as you know. So one of the questions, and the same question has come up for other positions in the town. So one of the questions on the survey is whether 4 positions should be elected or appointed, regardless of whether they are currently or not. Town clerk, zoning board of appeals, sewer commission, and finance committee. So if you want to think about the finance committee for a while, or comment tonight, if you're inclined, as to whether would be a preference to elect or continue to appoint as is done now, I'm happy to carry that feedback back as well.
Is that just the chairman for the finance committee or the entire finance committee?
Entire committee.
The entire committee to be elected?
Just out of curiosity, and we've had this conversation, how many volunteers or how many people are going to run? I mean, that's comes down to, does the town have a problem getting volunteers?
Yes.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Will the town have a problem getting people to spend money to buy their signs and everything else and run?
Sure does.
So, I mean, those are the 2 big main points to that.
Well, yeah, but whether
Yeah.
it's appointed or elected,
That's right.
There's always a shortage of people, even before you get to considering whether or not they're competent and qualified.
Well, that's
To
minor.
be appointed or to run, but that's another question.
Yeah.
So that'll be on, and frankly, there has been some limited discussion so far about, particularly with regulatory committees, providing some token compensation for the members, whether they're elected or appointed, just because it's on an annualized basis. A lot of these regulatory boards that meet once or twice or more a month and have field trips and off-site investigations and so forth, it does get to be time-consuming. So that's that'll be discussed further too.
How, on the 4 that you mentioned, the finance committee and the town clerk, et cetera, how do other towns do it on the Cape? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, I can't speak to anything other than town clerk, because that was sort of what drove the process of adding other possible positions to it. But the statewide trend is definitely migrating from the traditional elected town clerk to appointed. And I think over this is not an exact number, but of 351 towns, not all of whom have a town clerk per se, I think about a half of those, it's probably about half and half now. On the Cape in recent years, there are currently 6 towns that have changed from elected to appointed. And we've had proponents and opponents of both points of view make presentations to the committee about the pros and cons of doing it both ways. But the trend does seem to be favoring appointing. This has nothing to do with personalities or competence, or in Mashpee's case, anybody's view toward Debbie Kay, the current town clerk, who coincidentally has announced that she would not be seeking another term come her reelection term that ends next May. So even if that change is made, it would not have an impact on the current town clerk here. But I think most of the advocates that favor it being appointed would make the same argument for the town manager in the hiring process of any department head or key person in the town. You know, it comes down to expertise, experience, competence, and all of the characteristics that arguably can be very thoroughly vetted if you're in the business of hiring and firing competent people. Whereas if it's up till the election, it might be impacted by the budget that you have if you're seeking office, how popular you are, how well-known you are, what else you've done in the town, which may or may not be relevant to the town clerk. And you know, all, as spokespeople have pointed out in our meetings, you know, every department head has characteristics and experiences that are important to their competence, but the magnitude of the scope of what town clerks in Massachusetts have to deal with is mind-boggling and ever increasing, as I'm sure any town clerk would tell you. So, you know, finding, like you're saying, whether it's elected or appointed for any board or committee, finding available people, but in this case particularly those that are super qualified to hold that kind of position is one of the arguments that the proponents of it being appointed would cite.
The town clerk is a paid position?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
oh, yes, absolutely.
Paid by the town, correct?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I would think that it would be appropriate, like any other town employee that takes a salary, to be appointed or hired by the town manager.
Well, that's certainly the current town manager's stance on it, not to speak for him. The town clerk is the only department head in most towns, if the position is not elected, that is not appointed by the town manager, if the town has a town manager as opposed to a town council or that sort of thing.
That's why I would be in favor of it not being elected and being appointed. For the reason you said, you want somebody with some integrity, and it's easier to flesh that out through the hiring process than an election.
Now, those, including our town clerk, would cite that it makes more sense to just be counterpoint on that, for the town clerk to be accountable to the voters rather than to the town manager. And in fact, that's the way it is.
But there is a working relationship between the town manager and the clerk.
Oh, yeah, it always is.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Yes, no denying that.
And the residents of the town aren't necessarily interviewing the prospective town clerk. As you said, town clerk could be elected because he or she is well-known, popular, has the money to run a campaign. I mean, all kinds of things that don't really have to do with competence, integrity, qualifications, and things like that.
Well, we've had presidents of the United States elected that no one ever heard of prior to their running for the office, which may or may not be a reflection on their competence. And you may not know for a few years, so, but, yeah. So that's, those are, you know, that's the debate, so.
The downside of the appointment is that the town manager has, you know, his crew. He structures the whole people, everybody under him, you know, his people he appointed. and they have to report to him, so they become more yes men than if you're elected. If you're elected, you're more independent, and you don't become a yes person. You owe your job to your boss, so to speak.
Well, the good news is, we hope to have the feedback from the survey by the end of April, more or less. We're meeting several times a month on an ongoing basis. Our objective is to have a draft of the proposed changes that the committee would like to suggest to the voters in time for a public hearing that would happen sometime later in the summer. And the goal is to have the changes that we're proposing to the charter come before the October town meeting this year, so that the effective date of that, would be in place in a timely manner, which might address how for example, the town clerk's position would be handled come next spring's annual election in May, assuming the charter is changed in that regard and is implemented in a timely manner. So our hope is to have that charter come before the voters, or the changes that we're proposing to it. And as you know, the timetable dictates, when things have to get into the warrant and scrutinized and executed by the select board. So there's not a lot of elbow room, even at this point, so. Anyway, well, thank you on your feedback on the blue books, and I'll certainly pass that along. And please pay attention as we continue to debate the other topic, or any of the topics. And you're always invited, of course, to attend any of our meetings, as is everyone.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right. We have no updates from the town manager. Last item on the agenda has to do with the explanations we've received so far for the articles in the warrant. The review, discuss, and approve any available warrant explanations?
I haven't even looked at them,
Yeah, so,
nor have I started them. Sorry.
so, most of you, this is the first time any of you have seen this, so we will take and put it on hold and taking any action on these. Hopefully we'll have more next week, because we've only got a couple weeks left to get these finalized. All right? But at least you've got some reading material to start with.
Thank you. Take care, John.
All right? And just be aware that the order has changed on a couple of those in the annual meeting. All right? So, any other topics of discussion? Hearing none, next meeting will be March 14th, 2024 here. It will be the public hearing on the budget, which you will play a part in, because you have to read the opening information for that.
Okay?
And it's just what was published, and I will get that for you.
Thank you.
You actually probably have a copy of it in your email.
Okay,
Come from Terry.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So,
I didn't tell you that, did I?
Didn't I have to do it last year? I had to do it for October. Didn't we have a public hearing?
no.
Not for
No,
October?
No, it is only on the
Seems like-
budget. It's a
well,
public
I've-
hearing on the budget.
Okay, I have had to read some kind of a statement, but I don't remember when it was.
So, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And got motion in discussion on adjournment.
God.
Hearing none. Any opposition to adjourning? Hearing none, passed by unanimous consent. Thank you all very much, everybody.
Thank you.